The Data Management Training Clearinghouse, or DMT Clearinghouse, is basically a metadata registry. And what we mean by that is that we are collecting descriptions of educational and training materials that are specific for data management. So that's basically the overview of the DMT Clearinghouse, and as I said, we'll be going over the current implementation of the system, and we'll also look at some of the functions, and hopefully we'll have some time to work out an example of how to submit a record into the DMT Clearinghouse. As the title indicated, though, it is a collaborative effort. So before we get started, we also want to recognize our key contributors. So as our introductions said, I'm from NCAR, UCAR, and Nancy's from Knowledge Multi, but we also have 3 major partners, and they are USGS and ESIP, as well as Data One. And they were the groups that helped us in collecting the initial resources that we have in the clearinghouse, and we'll see that. You'll see why these resources are there or marked as ESIP, Data One, and USGS. But then we also had a really wonderful Drupal engineer from Blue Dot Lab. So these are the key contributors that help us create the first instance of the clearinghouse. Okay, so why did we decide to do this project, and how did we come about coming up with the idea of clearinghouse? And to answer these 2 questions, I really have to go back and provide you with a little bit of context and why this clearinghouse is now hosted under ESIP, or Earth Science Information Partners. So ESIP is an open and consortia or networking community that a lot of different roles and organizations can participate in sharing and exchanging issues and brainstorm solutions together. Nancy has been heading the data management training working group for a few years now, and so we have been talking about the issues and challenges people are facing in terms of data management plans and meeting data management requirements. And specifically, we often talk about the different types of requirements from the funders and sponsors, and how each agencies, or how each agency or how each institution might meet these requirements. So summer of 2015, we called a roundtable, and we asked interested people to participate and basically share how are we doing so far, and what have we learned, and what are we looking for, and what we would like to do about these topics. And after the conversation, we basically found out that the scientists are still basically struggling to learn, one, what is a data management and what to do with the data management plan, and 2, how to actually meet the requirements that are specific to them. So even though it's really nice to learn about data management plan in general, or data management concepts in general, at the end of the day, the researchers just want to meet their requirements, get the proposal in, get funding, and be successful. And so that's what their interests are in terms of collaborating with us in learning about data management plan. So we really got the sense that there are a lot of great resources that are being developed by data professionals and MLIS professionals, and there are a lot of questions that need to be answered, but how do we actually match them? How do we get those wonderful resources to the researchers to answer the answer the appropriate questions? And that's why we thought, okay, a clearinghouse would be a really great way to first compile the resources, to identify them for the users, and then obviously then as the different users come, we can then start gathering those information and cater these resources, or identify these resources for our users. So that's why we decided to do the Data Management Training Clearinghouse. And in order to get things started, we were really fortunate that during the fall of 2015, the USGS Community for Data Integration had a call for projects that they were willing to provide seed funding to. So we put in a proposal, and we're again very honored that our community voted that this is a worthy project to support. So during April 2016 and October 2016, we were able to get initial funding to design and implement the first instance of the data management training clearinghouse with the people that you saw earlier. And right now, we do have a functional data management training clearinghouse, and it's accessible through that web page or web address there, dmtclearinghouse.ecfed.org. And the first instance does include some of the key features that we decided to implement, but it doesn't mean that they are the only functions that will be available. So during the next few slides, we're basically going to look at what are available now and what we would like to do going forward. But just pausing really briefly and asking if there are any questions. All right, no questions. Then, so the next part, I will actually switch over to the live web, and so we can look at the homepage, look at some of the functions, and show you how to log in if you choose to register. Because for the submitter's role, the role of submitter, we actually would like people to register, and the registration process is really easy. It's basically coming out with a username, giving us a email address, and coming out with the password, and that's pretty much it. And the main reason for that is really as we go through the functions, and you'll see, and as we look at the metadata fields that we would like the submitter to submit, you will see that there would be opportunities for conversations, and so we just want to make sure that if there are things that we want to clarify, or if there are things that we weren't so clear on, our submitters can talk with us and we can get in touch. All right, so let me go back here. So that's the home page. Anybody would like to give me your first just impression of the home page? How does it look to you? And the idea for the rotating lifecycle is really to show that there are different ways that resources can meet the different styles of research lifecycle or data lifecycle. But if that's not clear, though, perhaps maybe we could add some verbiage on top and just to show samples of lifecycle. Sure. This is a skin versus our own function. So obviously, again, we hope that when we hover over the Explorer, people will recognize or realize that they're for ESIP general, but then this search is for the the DMT clearinghouse itself. But if that isn't clear, though, it is possible that these menus, these items could be rearranged possibly down here so that it's more clear. Since we're using a skin, this top bit, we could really just only customize the tagline and then what we want to add it in this extra bit. And we had to use ESIP logo, obviously, with their initial function. So it's actually going to be our advantage that you are just focusing on what's relevant to the data management training. I guess my overall summary on the homepage is that it does sound like it's clear enough for what it's doing, but there are just a few of the minor changes that you might like to see. And I think the most important one will probably be making sure that the coloring will be appropriate for accessibility reason. And then we just need to explore some of these menu placements. And but overall, will we agree that it's obvious that you can search and browse and submit here? Okay, good. Thank you. All right, so that's good because those are our three major functions right now. And if we go to search, down here, obviously, we have a free text entry style. Or if you go up here, if I click on search real quick, it's bringing me up another window, but that's okay. Oops. All right, come on. Come on, go. All right. So it will eventually bring you to this page. So I'm just going to start here. And I'm going to put in just an example, like say my researcher doesn't really know why citation is important, why he or she should either one, create his or her own citation, or two, why he or she should cite somebody else. And then finally, how does he or she even cite anything? So we're going to search and find what are some of the resources that are available to talk about citation. And then so you'll get to this page. I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. And as I said, this page would look very similar to this one. And basically, you would, if you just click on the top search, it'll bring you to this page, and you can put your search string here. But down here, when you put it in the home page, it will just bring you here with the search results. And then when you arrive here, unfortunately, you'll see the green again. So we'll take a note of that. But there are two main areas. Hopefully, it's recognizable to everyone here that on the left-hand side, we have the filters or the facets. And then on the main page, then we have the different resources that are available. And so let's talk about the filters a little bit. And this is something that we debated a lot on, and what should actually be here? What are some of the facets that should be made available, and how should we actually organize these filters? So we decided that for now, pending obviously the community's feedback, that we should have keywords, and then these keywords will be the tags or the information that you could enter as a submitter when you are filling out the submission form. And we could also filter by organization. Basically, if you know someone made something from your friendly university library neighbor, and then you want to say, oh yeah, I want to find that, you can find that organization here. Obviously, a lot of times we actually just know our friends and colleagues have produced training material, so we said, oh yeah, I know Nancy wrote a whole bunch of stuff, and I want to see what she has available here, so I can just find Nancy here. And then finally, we have publication date, license, and cost as three other filters. Questions or wanting to look at any one of these in more detail? Or so the question is basically, when I put in the search term, where is a term being searched? And so we had that question earlier, and basically this is probably something that we should put in our help or documentation somewhere, so it's, since people are constantly asking for this. But basically we are searching in a metadata record. So oh, sorry, Nancy. Oh, okay. Oh, okay. And so yeah, so it's not just in the title or the abstract. We do, and I'll show the full metadata record. And again, this goes with why we want to encourage people to be as complete as possible with the record. And we'll talk about the moderator and the editor roles, because right now the process is really simplified. Anybody can create an account and submit something, but we do recognize the importance of quality of the metadata records, and so the completeness, the accuracy, at least for the two characteristics of the record. So we want to work on adding the roles of moderator and editor so that we can facilitate this process of reviewing what's being input and make sure we have minimum level of descriptions in these records. So.
Yeah, the only thing I would add is that it's the metadata that is part of the registry, not the metadata that maybe was originally created with a resource. Mm-hmm. So some of these resources are also in other places, the actual learning resource. And what we're doing is pointing to that, with which Sophie will get to. Mm-hmm. But in terms of search for this registry, it's the metadata that has been input. Yeah, that's all.
Anything else about the facets, questions, or yeah?
I do have a question about, I wanted to clarify, are those tags under each of the other searchable tags? So for example, you have, for the first result is describe, discover, preserve. What does that tell me as a user?
Okay, so the question is, for the tags that are associated with these resources, how are they used, right? Or what are their functions? And so basically, mainly they're for for the resources to be able to be filtered using the keywords facet. So for example, the first resource is tag with describe, discover, and preserve. And so then corresponding here, oh, that's a good point. I actually don't see some of the keywords here. So yeah, sure, please, Nancy.
Yeah.
Yes.
So the tags that are underneath refer to some of the facets. The first one that you see there is the license, the visualization of the license, so CC BY, whatever that is. So you can search that as a facet. The next one, it refers to what Sophie will get to, which is about the framework or kind of collection in which the resources appear. And then the other tags there are associated with the framework. So all of the frameworks we've got in there so far are basically about different research life cycles related to the images that we saw at the beginning, that flash through. And a lot of those have different steps within the life cycle. And so when that's possible, those key terms show which steps of the life cycle that resource. Now, it obviously needs explaining, but that's what it's about.
Yeah. So no, go ahead, please.
Worthwhile to have those as a searchable function. So if
Yeah.
you're interested in just the discover portion of it, to be able to click that facet and see all the ones that result.
I think you can actually. Now I've forgotten how to do that. Oh, sorry.
Oh, sorry. So the question was that or the suggestion is that it would be really good if these tags are actually actionable, so that when we click on any one of these, we can actually go to the other resources are also tagged with a similar tag. So I don't think we can. Cause
I can't remember, actually. I have to look into that and see what the answer is. I think we talked about how to do that, and there is a way to filter by those, but it's not in this screen, I think is what I'm remembering. But I'll check
that's
while
true.
you're here.
And that's why I think that's an area that, thank you for mentioning that, because from my memory, I thought that I actually remember this instance as in linking these keywords on the filter side to these. So what Nancy described as in linking to a stage in a framework, I thought that was another stage of our implementation. So yeah, that's something that we need to consolidate or need to confirm. So let me summarize that comment. Basically, she was saying that it would be really great if we can figure out just from the tags what kind of media that the resource is, what kind of delivery form the resources will be in. And so this is what I'm highlighting. The first tag, it's small and it's hard to miss. It's so easy to miss rather. It's easy to miss. And but like Nancy said, a lot of our document or we haven't gotten to the documentation process of our system. So you will notice that we did put a placeholder for help, and if I go to FAQ right now, we won't actually see too many things under FAQ, but these are the things that we do notice. Like for example, we wanted to put just a sample screen and showing people how to, for example, how to read a research or search results page, because even though we like to be as intuitive as possible, there are some choices that we made that are specific to our system. So thank you for that, because we did talk about that. We actually, even the type of image that we show in this little icon, we debated a lot about how to demonstrate a video versus a sound versus a document, whatever. So okay, thank you. So we'll keep going. So if you have any more questions or comments, just raise your hand, please. And then, so I'll just choose the first one. And so each one of these, we decided to be minimalistic. So basically, we decided to provide the title and beginning of the abstract, and hopefully, as we improve the tags, the images will be more self-explanatory to our users, so we don't need to be so text-based. But obviously, once we select one resource that we like, we can just go into more. And then this one happens to be a little bit, simple in its description. So let me see. Let me try ESIP 1. Okay. All right. So you can see the different styles of how the submitter could affect the quality of the records that are eventually shown to the users. So again, going back to one of the things that we would really love to do would be to implement moderator and editor roles, so that, for example, I read the first one, I might say, hey, encourage the submitter. Nothing wrong with the simple sentence, but I might, as a moderator or editor, I might go back and make the decision to go back to the submitter to encourage the submitter to add more information if I think this is a bit thin compared to the majority of the other resources in our system. But once you're looking at one of these resources in more detail, we can look at a full description, or we can look at a view resource. And view full description will basically take you to the complete metadata record that the submitter provided. And again, right now, it's what it is. Whatever the submitter provides will be reflected here. But as we have additional roles to help facilitate the submission process, we hope to make sure the resources will be more consistent with each other. So, for example, the users should always be able to get citation information, or we will always have at least some kind of education information to help people identify the uses, how to use the resources. But I'll go through the sections more in detail when we go over the submission form. So, but just want to give you a preview of when someone submits a record, the end user will be able to see, an end user will be able to see the record in this format. Okay, questions? Okay, all right. And then, so let me go back. And so, as I mentioned, we are right now just metadata. We are a metadata registry. So our data are just the metadata records. So we don't store the actual resources. And so to get to the resources, we are relying on a submitter for providing the link to the resource, and then I'm just going to preview this real quick. So when you click on it, you'll just go to where the submitter says that you should be able to find the resource. Okay, and then because we don't store the actual resources, and the link is so important to us. Another important step for us to take is to implement the function of checking broken links or invalid links. And we wanted to make sure our users don't come in here and say, oh, that would be great, I really would like to use that, and then go to somewhere that's already an error page. Yeah.
So I'm seeing that most people don't seem to have the view resource link.
Oh, no. Oh, okay. So this is because I expanded the view. So for example, if I wanted to see this one, I have to expand the record using this top right-hand corner. So the suggestion was that, let me repeat two comments. So the first comment was that it wasn't readily clear that we would need to use the More button to expand the resource description, and because we didn't realize we could do that, then we weren't also sure that the resource is available or not. And then so the follow-up comment was that it could be helpful that the title is actionable, so that I could just go to the title, and either it's a link or there are more descriptions indicating what kind of resource I will be able to retrieve from this particular record. Okay.
Can I just ask a question to clarify your comment? When you say make the title actionable, you mean to the equivalent information that you see with More? So not the full record, but the description, just basically a description. Well, going to the source goes off the site, is the thing.
Oh.
Yeah, coming to the full description, I guess.
Okay, rather than just clarifying.
Okay. So the clarification to Nancy's question about what action should making the title actionable be? And then so the clarifications, at least just to expand the description. So thank you. So an alternative, a summary of the other comment is that alternatively, we could hover over the resource and to see the abstract, but then when we click on the title, then it goes to the full record. Okay, thank you. All right, so that's our first try with our research function, and this is the result that we have, or this is the current available capability that we have right now. And thank you for all your comments. They're all really, really great. So we appreciate them. But like I said, we know what we need to do. So some of the areas that we need to improve on. So your feedback definitely would help us prioritize which ones will be more urgent for us to implement. All right, so then the next thing we want to take a look at is the browse page. And again, this is something that we know is an area that we need to work on a little bit more, because right away you see that for browse, you just get a listing of all the resources. And right now, luckily, we only have less than 100, so we can just we can list them within 3-4 pages. But obviously, that's not viable for people to go through 3-4 pages, or even tens and hundreds of pages if we grow to that many, to just literally browse like that. So we're coming up with, again, facets to help facilitate the browse experience. And the first capability or first option that we came up with was to browse through what we call a framework. And that really is just equivalent of calling these special collection to an agency or to an institution. Because, for example, USGS has a science support framework that asks USGS researchers to fulfill their data management per this particular life cycle, which they call the science support framework. So if a USGS scientist want to come in here and say, oh, how do I fulfill publication? What does that mean by publication? The person can come in here and search for USGS science support framework publication, and then find all the resources relating to that particular stage. So this is what Nancy was saying earlier, that we tag the resources with particular stages of a framework or a specific life cycle requirement, so that it will be easier to find specific resources for those areas. But like I said, since we only have DataOne, ESIP, and USGS as our partners right now, it's not a very sophisticated facet capability, and we know that this can be expanded. So this is why we're hoping there will be a lot more people who will participate, giving us resources, and so we can refine how we manage and how we present our collections. Okay? Yeah.
I think again here, the browse, having facets for material type would be really useful. Like, I just want to browse what videos you have.
Oh, great, thank you. So the common summary of the comment is that it would be really great to browse through media type of what kind of resource delivery options there are for the resources. Thank you. Okay. All right, anything else? All right, so nothing else. I just want to mention the login function. So obviously, if someone doesn't have a login account already, we need to create a new account, and this is where the login or creation of the new account happens. So you click on login, and there will be a create a new account. And we did talk about changing the name a little bit, so it will be login/create new account, so it will be more obvious. But here, like I mentioned, there are only 4 fields that need to be filled in, and so just creating a username, providing an email address, and just create a password and confirming, and then should be able to get that. And so the next thing that we wanted to do, and let me go back to my presentation if I can. There we go. Okay. So I did the three demos, and so the next thing we wanted to do is actually to go through the submission process with you. And so I think Nancy should have given everyone the handout describing the submission use case that we were going to look at. We also have 3 test accounts, so the username and password are the same in each case, so you can be eScience test 1, 2, or 3. And you don't have to do this now, but when you go back and you want to try it out, these accounts will be available for at least a few months. And so please feel free just to go in and look at the submission form in more detail if you like. And then we also have a contact form here, the 2NONDII contact form. And this is really for us to stay in touch with you. So for example, if you have questions, you think you might have questions for us and you want to just stay in touch with us, you can use this form to fill out, and I'll just bring it up real quickly and just show you what it looks like. So we basically ask for your email address and name, institution, organization, and you don't have to fill this one out. I repeated the email address again. But also on the bottom, I wanted to point out that beyond today's conversation or today's session, Nancy and I, with other people, the other collaborators, we meet regularly through the data management training working group from ESIP. So if it's not a requirement, you don't have to join every meeting, but you would like just to lurk on the listserv and see what we're doing, or just drop in every now and then, we give you an opportunity to say yeah, yes, no, or maybe. At least we know. And then and the bottom one is probably the most important for us right now, because we would really love to hear from the community if there are other resources that we should be aware of, people we should reach out to and talk with them about the Clearinghouse, and or maybe just form partnership of saying, oh, there's another database of a lot of great resources, and all we want to do is just help them expose the resources that they've already collected. So it's not to say we need to merge our resources, but at least we know each other's efforts and presence. So that's that. All right, and then so we will go over the exercise, and this is not a very good print, so I hope you can read better on from your handout. Basically, if you look at your handout, it is a sample module from ESIP's training course, and you'll see very typical information about a resource. So you'll have the course is basically called Advertising Your Data Agency Requirements for Submitting Metadata, and then there's a video, and then some information about the author, and some information about what the when it's published and what language it's in and so forth. So the first page I want to bring up, let me see. Let me log in so we can go through how it actually looks like within the system. All right, so once you sign in, it looks like this. You can go up to submit, or from home, you can just go to submit. And then you will have 4 sections of the submission form. And the first tab is basically the basic information that we ask the submitter to provide. And as you can see, there are not very many fields that we need to fill out. We're asking for title, the URL, author, individuals or organizations, information about whether or not there's a cost associated with accessing the resource, and then contact persons or organizations for the resource. So we don't have to actually fill it out, this form, but looking, for example, thinking about a resource you might be working with, or looking at the example that we provided, do these fields make sense to you? How you would fill these fields? Yeah, please.
For URL, I would be explicit in asking for a permalink.
Okay, so the comment, let me summarize that, is that for the URL, where we're saying the landing page for the learning resource, the comment is that we should be asking explicitly the identifier, the persistent identifier? Okay, yeah. Anything else? Do these fields make sense to people? And just to clarify, if a field does not make sense, technically you can hover over the field name and then you can see a pop-up. But we're really aiming for the fields to be as intuitive as possible. So that's why we're wondering if there's any. Oh yeah, sorry, please.
I don't know if you asked us it on another screen, but maybe this is a point to ask whether it's video or text or PowerPoint or whatever.
Oh, okay. So summary of the comment is that we should be. It would be helpful to ask the media format here on the home on the basic information page. Great, thank you. Yes, please.
That might help clarify too. When it just says title, it's not clear to me whether or not like if the data set is supposed to have a title or something like that, versus it might be something associated with a paper or something.
So let me actually a summary and my follow-up question. So the comment is that the title isn't clear enough, and so I guess my question from your comment is that do you mean that we should be more explicit about what title we're asking for?
Yeah.
Okay, so like say title for the resource or
Just it might have other. I don't know. A data set have a title. Like it could be a description or
Data set.
oh, so
it
may,
seems to be vague to me.
so perhaps like we would say.
Because there might be a formal title for a publication that goes along with it or something like that.
So, oh, okay. So in this context, we were talking about. Okay, so let me summarize again for the recording. That there are different titles that might be available for a same entity, and because we're asking for when someone is submitting this, they're submitting a resource that is specific for education or training of specific topic within data management realm. So we might. Perhaps what we want to do is basically say main title or something like that and give people options to say short title or alternative title. Maybe that's what we're saying.
Like alternative identifiers sort of thing. A lot of repositories let you put up more than one description for the item.
Okay, so
Go ahead. I'll summarize what she said, and then I'll.
okay, so the summary of the comment is that since there are other ways to describe a resource, even just using a title, for example, there's a main title, alternative ID, alternative title, it might be helpful to clarify. And I was going to show that our second tab does provide a little bit more of that capability. But I think from what I'm hearing is that we perhaps need to help making sure that these three other tabs are more obvious, that there are more things to work on.
Well, let me
yeah,
ask.
yeah,
So so this is all about the learning resource, right? So is part of your question if there are resources that are related to the resource, such as a publication, something like that, where would that show up?
Yeah.
Okay.
If you're submitting something that you'd like someone to reuse, the title you put in here might not be the title of the rest of the supplemental information or something like that.
Right. So the comment was that this may not, the title that shows up here may not be the only one that you would want to get access to. There might be supplemental titles that would go. Just
The
to
resource might not be a standalone sort of.
Right. Yeah, one of the things that we've talked about and was discussed last session as well was the way to link resources to other resources. So for instance, if you've got a course, you want to put, or you've got an overall landing page, as we do with one example here, and then there are sub-pages below that how do you do that? So yeah, there is a possibility within the metadata scheme we're using to have, related titles.
Like parent-child relationship.
Yeah, we didn't do that initially because we weren't sure what the instances would be, when that would be useful. But so we've got one example of how to do it, and we solved that one. But these other kinds of examples, we need to really see what would be the best way to do it, and maybe add that term, that tag, or find some other way of linking. You can put URLs in the descriptions and so on as well. So that's another way. But
summary again. Basically, we've heard this before, so appreciate it that we really appreciate that you bring it up again. Basically, it's a management of components of an entity, and also demonstrating that from entity to entity their relationships, and basically how to show one-to-many and one-to-one, but also many-to-many possibly. And so that's something that, as Nancy is saying, that we're definitely thinking about how to show these relationships, but without actual examples or use cases, it's hard for us to predict that behavior, those behaviors. So again, just to emphasize the importance of, that's why we are proactively asking for resources and proactively asking for submissions so that we can test these functions and capabilities out.
Yeah, one more comment to make is there is a possibility of putting version information in.
That's
so
true.
you can, down in the other blocks, the recommended information, there's a version tag, so you can add that if you want to, if that helps. So
Yeah.
at least there's that.
All right, so I will go over to the next section, since that seems to be a good segue to talk about this page. So after the basic information, we hope to be as easy and as painless as possible, but obviously we encourage people to be as complete as possible. So we created these three other pages, or three other sub pages for people to provide additional information about their resources. And so the second page would just be all these other things that we would love to have. So obviously a more detailed description, and we can put in subject discipline keywords here, and we've imported some initial terms that people have already defined through the education working group from the Research Data Alliance, if that's an organization that's familiar to you. But otherwise, basically, Research Data Alliance is another international data / information collaborative environment or consortia that talk about a lot of challenges that we face, but utilizing the international experience. And so they were able to put this together as their first effort, and then we thought it would be a good start for us. And obviously we can refine that as we go along. And then other keywords. And so this is what we were saying we could filter on our search results page. And so there are some of these words that we know are useful to people, and we started out with these. But obviously, for example, a poster this morning that we saw, the eScience Thesaurus, that's something that would be great for us to utilize or leverage, and basically not having to reinvent wheels and be consistent with the activities that others are doing in our community. And then license information, we started out with Creative Commons. We had a question earlier about what if I want to do a different licensing option. I don't want it to be open. I want people to attribute me specifically, which is okay. But you can also utilize the Creative Commons, which will be default, or will be available here. And then there's some usage rights information. There's some default ones because, as I mentioned, we collaborated with USGS, and they have some specific text that they wanted to use, but obviously people can also add their own information here. And then Citation, we obviously encourage people to provide ways to cite their resources, and we have learned from a lot of literature review that if the citation format or the information isn't readily available, people are less likely to cite. So we encourage people to provide citation information, but obviously we can't reinforce that. So for now, it's an optional field. And then just some of the other information here too, can provide a persistent ID here for the resource, how to get there, and then we can choose to, from the three options that we have, it's ARC, DOI, or handle. And then we can also put in publisher information and version information here. This is where we were talking about. At least we can put version information here. And then the bottom of this page allows us to put in other dates and then some accessibility features, and as well as language information. So again, just like the homepage, hopefully these fields are familiar enough that maybe there's different definitions from records to record, but as a concept, this page should not be too unfamiliar to our general users. Right, so great feedback. So basically the comment is that it will be really helpful if we have a feature that generates the citation for people automatically based on the fields that we are already asking. And we know that's something that other people have done, and we would definitely like to make sure that's available. So we'll jot that down and review it with our engineer. Thank you. And a related question that we actually talk about will be then what's the default format, because a lot of different journals or different experiences will show that sometimes at least the arrangement of the fields will be a little bit different. So that goes into another discussion of then what are our default format or formats, right? So, but for us to start, yes, I think we recognize the convenience of at least generate one format, and people can move it around if they need to. So thank you. A comment and a question. The comment is basically echoing the earlier comment that it would be really great to have at least a few options of consistent formats for people to choose from when creating the citation. And again, yes, we do recognize the importance of that. So we'll look into that and talk about what would be a reasonable implementation of that feature. And then the question is, the question, sorry.
I was just curious about if you were.
Editorial board. Thank you. Yes, yes. Thank you. Yeah, so yes, and we would really, really love to get an editorial board going, because again, just like you said, you mentioned about the quality of the metadata, consistency and accuracy, and just and even just helping to make sure that the entries are readable. And we don't mean readable as in, oh yeah, it's some wonderful article piece type of writing. We just mean like there aren't a lot of typos, or just like it's actually a sentence. And so yes, we would really love to get an editorial board going, but because this is complete. After our seed funding, this will be primarily relying on just volunteering effort. So we're exploring different venues or options for getting fundings. And so in case people know if there are funding opportunities, please let us know. We would love to look at that. But for now, we'll probably have to rely primarily on the working group, the data management training working group, which would just be a lot slower. But we feel passionate about the clearinghouse that we'll probably keep going, but just a little bit slower.
Let me add one comment.
Sure.
Just to respond a little bit more to that in terms of our plans. We're talking about both editor and kind of moderator or reviewers. And the reviewers in particular, I think, would be useful, would be helpful when you come from different domains. So as Sophie's mentioned, what we've got so far are people from kind of the geospatial domain. But if resources, for instance, from biomedical come in, then reviewers who know that area better would be the information, the quality would be much better as a result of that. So part of what it wouldn't necessarily need to be through the working group. There could just be, we're looking at kind of the Wikipedia model of keeping things updated and sustained. So that's something that we really want to work on in the next little while. So let us know if you're interested.
Again, to summarize, we should look into citation manager capability to see Drupal is quite flexible as far as we understood. So it might be something that we could readily integrate using some kind of Drupal module or something. So we would love to be able to leverage that. But yeah, and also your other comment about making sure the citation formats are available from our full description page. So thank you. All right, so I have about 7 minutes, so I'm going to go over the next 2 sections a little next. So the third page is actually really simple. We just really want to make sure we recognize contributors, not just authors or those people who are credited right away within the citation, but also we know that it takes a lot of work to put together the resources, so we want to make sure they get recognized. So we dedicated this page for those organizations and individuals. And the last page, again, coming back to our original objective of wanting to make sure we match the right resources with the researchers who want to answer a particular question or questions. And also the users might be the researchers going or looking for a resource on their own, or a trainer or educator who's saying, okay, I have a group of people that I need to teach data management concepts or ideas or topics, and I want to make sure that the resources are appropriate for my audience. And this is what this page is about. So basically, we build in place for putting in a framework or what kind of what is a set of requirements that we're trying to meet here. We're talking about target audience, so the submitter could recommend what are the roles or what are the functions that could best benefit from the resource, and then the purpose of the primary reason that this resource was created. And then we even put in intended time for completion, like how long could a typical person take to finish this. And also media type is here, but then from what we're hearing, maybe media type could be moved out to our earlier section. And then learning resource type, and we have a lot of different options here. So talking about, again, another area for future work, we know that some of these terms are information that we are familiar with as in terms of the development team or the implementation team, and this might not be readily understandable or clear to other communities. So another area of help or documentation that we need to work on is to make sure this page is clear or this page is usable and understandable to our submitters. So if you see anything that doesn't make sense or should be clarified, please let us know, and we'll be happy to make sure we update any of these fields or any of these terms so that they're easier to use. Okay, so like I said, I just ran through these fields, and a lot more questions. We know that the experience is that a lot more questions usually come up when you're actually entering something. So we hope people will be, and then if you have any questions, please let us know. Okay, so now I'm going to go back to the presentation and just finish up the last few slides. All right. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. All right, so the next steps, a lot of what you said or what you commented on are already on our radar. We know there are a lot of things that we need to continue, but like I said, if it's just based on volunteering work, it would take a little bit slower. So obviously we appreciate being able to hire our engineer and have him being dedicated to the effort if possible. So we're looking for funding opportunities, but we're also looking for partners, collaborators in general who can share experience with us or just share resources with us. And then we basically just want people to know about this service and try it out and let us know if it's useful or not, or whether Nancy and I should keep talking about this. But obviously, regardless of the Clearinghouse, we will keep going with the data management training, education and training. Is our passion. So we would love to, if obviously continue this, but also talk about other activities as well. So one thing we did mention this morning that we will share with this group is that by looking at the tag words or just looking at the resources that people are submitting, we could also potentially help looking at what are some of the skills or how to develop a holistic curriculum to train people under different circumstances. So we talked about also wanting to collect syllabi for various courses or different types of courses, either professional or academic, and that's a really great way. Analyzing syllabi would be a really great way to say what are some of the terms that some of the topics that people always teach, or what are some of the fundamental ones versus advanced ones, or in terms of interdisciplinary, we think about librarian topics, but also what are some of other great skills or great information that we can introduce to our students so that when they go out there and be a data manager or provide data services, they see that their environment more completely. So these are some of the other questions that we're also wanting to tackle or encourage the conversations at least. So like I said, if you didn't see the earlier link about the contact form, please take another look. Let us know if you want to get in touch. But otherwise, you can contact us individually and we will be happy to talk with you more. Thank you very much.